Let's face it, Class A, you should already know how to show possession in Spanish, but just to brush up on the finer points, let's make sure you've got everything. You know that one way to show possession in English is to use apostrophe S, but in Spanish we can't use apostrophe S. So what do we do instead? We say something like, it is the book of so-and-so. And to do that, we use the definite article of the noun, followed by the noun. Then we use the preposition de, and since we're using a preposition, we have to follow it with an object of a preposition. They're the same things that we used when we were using gustar, and you can't say a yo, you have to say a me, or you can't say a tu, you have to say a ti. We never named them before, but those are technically objects of prepositions. Names are acceptable. Any names in place of Max or Anna or Juan and Anna work. And I have these two grayed out because honestly, if you're going to usually say it's my book, you would just use a possessive adjective and not say it's the book of me, because that's just strange. So in this sentence, they are Max's shoes. I literally have to say they are the shoes of Max, and that's how that works. Here's one for you to try. I'll be looking for it in your notes. It is Juan and Anna's book. We would have to say it is the book of Juan and Anna. And if you wanted to ask whose blank is it, this is what you would say. De quién es el or la blank. Whose is it? And that's just a review of, instead of apostrophe S, what you do in Spanish. And so earlier I said we don't usually say de mi or de ti. What we usually use are possessive adjectives. What do you know about adjectives? Well, you know that they have to match what they're describing in number and gender. Very important. But possessive adjectives have a couple of exceptions. Usually Spanish adjectives go after the noun, but possessive adjectives don't. You will actually say it the way we say it. My book will actually be my book, as opposed to when we say like green book and we have to say book green. So they are like a package deal, which is why I have a box around them. And the biggest mistake that students make is they forget that adjectives have to match the noun they're describing and not the person who owns it. So if I wanted to say any of these things, I would have the possessive adjective plus the noun, and to say my noun, it'd be me or me. So notice, me for my does not have an accent. Me for my does not have an accent, which is different than from the object of a preposition. But if you're saying my something, no accent. Your something would be tu or tus. Our something has 4 different options because there is a masculine or a feminine form, where over here there is no gender to me or to. And same thing for this. Now I've saved the bottom 2 for last because they are exactly the same. Because they are exactly the same, sometimes we need more clarification, and that's why if we're saying it's her book, it would just be es su libro. And if I was saying it's their book, it would just be es su libro. So we have to be careful if we need more clarification that we might have to say es el libro de ella or es el libro de ellos. Depending on the situation, su and su over here or sus and sus, they're not very clear without more context. So those are your possessive adjectives. And knowing that, you might already have some of these sentences in your notes, but if not, you will need them. I've put them right between your possessive adjective notes and your possessive pronoun notes because they practice both. They are my grandparents, they are Anna's books, they are her books. It is their book, it is our table. These use possessive adjectives. I have them color-coded with the green. And we're about to get into what possessive pronouns are. They are used to say things like they are mine, they are hers, it is theirs, it is ours. In your notes, of course, I would expect to have the sentence, skip a line, room for the answer, and skip another line. So we can answer these. Let's check out your possessive pronouns. Pronouns replace nouns, usually to avoid repetition. Spanish possessive pronouns have 2 parts. Don't forget that they match the noun, not the person. And, of course, there are 4 different versions of them because we need masculine singular and feminine singular, and masculine plural or feminine plural. Possessive pronouns in English say mine, yours, his, hers, and so on and so forth. And the way that you say them in Spanish, here's just the masculine singular options: el mío, el tuyo, el suyo, and so on and so forth. So up here when I said they have two parts, the first part is the definite article, and the next part is the actual possessive pronoun. To make any of these options feminine, of course, you would change the L to la and the O at the end to a. And if you want to make any of them plural, you would change L to los, and you'd add an S to everything else. So knowing what these are, you should now be able to go back to these example sentences and say these things. They are mine, mine referring to grandparents. They are hers, hers referring to books. It is theirs, theirs referring to book, and it is ours, ours referring to table. So you pick your pronoun based on who owns it, but then you make it match the noun. We do have just a little bit more to say. Can the article ever be left out? A minute ago I said they have two parts. Don't forget the el, la, los, or las. Here's the deal. It can actually be left out if it's after the verb ser. But if you're ever in doubt, it's always okay to use the article. For example, ella no es mi tía, no es la mía. Since this is a form of ser, we could leave out the la. Translate that sentence here. No tengo mis libros, tienes los tuyos. In this sentence, tener is before the possessive pronoun, so we may not leave out the definite article. Please translate these sentences here. And one more thing you should know about possessive pronouns and possessive adjectives is that these words here that we just discussed being possessive pronouns can also be used as possessive adjectives to say my, your, his, her instead of mine, yours, his, hers if they are placed after the noun without the article. For example, do you see the very tall guy over there? Es el primo mío would be saying the same thing as es mi primo, which is he is my cousin, because here is one of those possessive pronouns used after the noun and without the article. So to say he is my cousin, I can say es mi primo, or honestly es el primo mío, and either one works. But using your possessive pronouns as both an adjective or a pronoun can get a bit confusing, so we will probably stick to using our possessive adjectives before the nouns to be our possessive adjectives, using our possessive pronouns to replace the nouns, and then we will be able to write these sentences without much confusion. So they are my grandparents will be your possessive adjectives, anything in green. They are mine will use a possessive pronoun replacing the noun. Or when you want to use apostrophe s, we use de plus an object of the preposition or a person's name. So that is a summary of possession in Spanish. Bring your notes to class. Ask questions if you have them. We'll be practicing with all these things together in class. Good job.